May I refill your water, ma'am? Caroline Ashford looked at Whitney's hands, then at her skin. Don't touch my glass. I don't want black hands near my food. Her friends laughed. A guest raised his phone, recording. Get her away from me. You people always smell like poverty. The dining room watched. No one moved. No one spoke. Gerald, the manager, appeared instantly. Head bowed. Of course, Mrs. Ashford. Whitney, step back. No apology, no hesitation, because everyone in Charleston feared the millionaire's wife. Whitney stepped back, spine straight, hands trembling, not from fear, from something else. None of them could imagine what was coming. In 75 days, before 200 witnesses, Caroline Ashford would sit in silence while her world shattered, and the black waitress she called poverty? She would be the one standing, speaking, making the untouchable woman finally bow her head. 6:45 in the morning. Whitney Brooks stands before a small bathroom mirror in a one-bedroom apartment in North Charleston. Black uniform pressed and spotless, white apron folded over her arm, hair pulled back into a tight bun that will stay in place for the next 12 hours. She is 34 years old. A black woman, born in this city, raised in these streets, 3 generations deep in Charleston soil. Her grandmother, Loretta, worked as a cook for a wealthy white family back in the 1960s, back when black women entered through service entrances, back when speaking out of turn could cost you everything, your job, your reputation, sometimes more. Loretta learned to bow her head. She learned to hold her tongue even when words burned in her throat. She learned that silence was the price of survival. Her mother, Diane, followed the same path. 30 years waiting tables across Charleston's restaurant scene. Same lessons passed down like a bitter inheritance. Same bowed head, same swallowed pride, same survival. 3 generations of black women. 3 generations who understood exactly where society placed them. But Whitney has always carried a question she never speaks aloud. When does understanding become acceptance? When does survival become surrender? When do you stop bowing and start standing? She shakes away the thought. There is work to do. In the small bedroom, her daughter Amelia sleeps peacefully, 8 years old, chronic asthma that flares without warning. The nebulizer machine sits on the nightstand like a silent guardian, ready to deliver the medication that keeps her breathing steady. As long as Whitney has health insurance, Amelia has that machine. As long as Whitney has her job, she has health insurance. The chain is simple. The stakes are absolute. Whitney watches her daughter's chest rise and fall, steady rhythm, peaceful face, completely unaware of the calculations her mother runs every single day. This apartment has 1 bedroom. Amelia gets the bed. Yeah. Whitney sleeps on the sofa. There is no complaint in this arrangement. Just reality accepted and managed. She kisses Amelia's forehead, gentle enough not to wake her, grabs her keys, and steps out into the humid Charleston morning. The Gilded Oak restaurant sits in the heart of Charleston's historic district. 85 years of tradition wrapped in white columns and ivy-covered walls. Crystal chandeliers imported from Vienna hang above tables dressed in white linen changed between every seating. The menu is printed on cream-colored cardstock without prices, because the clientele who dine here never need to ask what things cost. Politicians negotiate deals over lunch. Real estate developers close transactions over dinner. Old Charleston money, the kind that traces back to plantations nobody discusses anymore, gathers here to see and be seen. In 85 years, the Gilded Oak has never promoted a black employee to management. The division is unspoken but absolute. Black staff serve the food, wash the dishes, bus the tables. White staff greet guests at the door, manage the floor, hold the keys. Everyone pretends not to notice the pattern. Everyone understands it perfectly. Whitney has worked here for 11 years. Her employee file tells a story of excellence. 0 late arrivals, Perfect attendance. Not one formal complaint from a guest in over a decade of service. She knows her regulars by name, remembers their allergies, their anniversaries, their preferences for still water over sparkling, their favorite corner tables. 23 five-star reviews on Yelp mention her by name. Whitney made our anniversary unforgettable. Ask for Whitney. She's the best server in Charleston. By every measurable standard, she is exceptional at her job. None of it will protect her from what is coming. She clocks in at 7 sharp. Begins the morning ritual that she could perform blindfolded. Polishing silverware until it reflects light without a single streak. Folding napkins into precise triangles. Checking that every glass is spotless, every plate properly aligned. Gerald Whitmore approaches. Floor manager, 58 years old, 15 years running the front of house. He carries a clipboard he rarely writes on, more prop than tool. Table 7 has a VIP reservation today. He speaks without meeting her eyes. Mrs. Caroline Ashford. You know who she is. Whitney nods. Everyone in Charleston knows that name. Important guest, Gerald continues. His voice carries an unusual tremor. Very important. Don't make any mistakes. Whitney notices something. Gerald's fingers tap against the clipboard in an irregular rhythm. His weight shifts from foot to foot. Gerald Whitmore, who has calmly managed health inspections and celebrity visits and one memorable kitchen fire, appears nervous. She does not ask why. Not yet. 12:30 arrives. The front door opens. The scent enters before the woman. Chanel No. 5. Heavy, expensive, unmistakable. Whitney straightens her posture, prepares her professional smile. She has absolutely no idea that the next 10 minutes will alter the course of her life. Carolyn Ashford enters the Gilded Oak like she holds the deed to the building. In a sense, through her husband Harrison's extensive real estate holdings, perhaps she does. 52 years old. Ivory silk dress that costs more than Whitney earns in a month. Triple strand of pearls around her neck. Not costume jewelry, the real kind that takes decades to cultivate. Cartier sunglasses pushed up into hair that was professionally styled before 9 a.m. 2 women trail behind her. Same age bracket, same wealth bracket, same practiced way of scanning a room to confirm they are the most important people in it. Before Whitney can approach table 7, a hand catches her elbow. Tanya Robinson, 29 years old, black, 3 years at the Gilded Oak. Her whisper barely travels past Whitney's ear. Be careful with this one. Whitney turns slightly. What do you mean? Last year, a girl named Lisa Crawford worked here, 24 years old, black, like us. Tanya's eyes dart toward Caroline's table, then snap back. Mrs. Ashford wanted to switch tables. Lisa told her politely that the other table was already reserved for another party. Just stated a fact, nothing rude. What happened to her? Tanya's jaw tightens visibly. 1 week later, Lisa was terminated. The official reason in her file said attitude not suitable for our establishment. No prior warnings, no write-ups, no chance to defend herself, just gone. Whitney absorbs this information. Did anyone speak up for her? Nobody. Tanya shakes her head slowly. Nobody asked questions. Nobody filed a complaint on her behalf. Nobody risked anything. Because everyone already knew. Knew what? Tanya holds her gaze. Everyone is afraid of her, Whitney. I mean everyone. Gerald is afraid. The owners are afraid. The Charleston Commerce Association is afraid. The whole city walks on eggshells around that woman. You cross Caroline Ashford, you disappear. Maybe not immediately, maybe not obviously, but eventually, you're gone. Whitney processes this warning, files it in the mental cabinet where she stores every injustice she has witnessed since childhood. Then she squares her shoulders. I'll be careful. She approaches table 7 with her professional smile in place. Caroline Ashford does not acknowledge her existence, does not look up, does not pause her conversation. "Good afternoon," Whitney begins. "Welcome to the Gilded Oak. My name is Whitney, and I'll be taking care of—" "Change the table." Caroline speaks to her friend, not to Whitney, as if Whitney were furniture. "I don't like this light." Whitney maintains her composure. "Of course, ma'am. Right this way." She leads them to table 12. Caroline sits, surveys her surroundings for approximately 4 seconds, then rises again. "No. This one is too close to the kitchen. I can hear the noise." Table 9. "The chair is uncomfortable. Don't you people check these things?" Table 4. "This will do, I suppose." 3 table changes. Whitney executes each one without complaint, without visible reaction. This is fine dining. Wealthy guests have preferences. Accommodating those preferences is part of the job description. Then Caroline Ashford finally looks at her. It is not a glance. It is an inspection, an assessment, starting at Whitney's face, moving slowly down her uniform, pausing at her shoes, then back up. Deliberate. Cold. The way someone examines an item they have already decided to reject. The words come clearly, loud enough for neighboring tables to hear. "I don't want this person serving me." The restaurant falls silent. Silverware stops clinking. Conversations die mid-sentence. "Get me someone else. Anyone else." Gerald Whitmore materializes instantly. Whitney did not see him approach. "Of course, Mrs. Ashford, absolutely. Whitney, you can return to the service station." He does not ask for an explanation, does not question the request, does not look at Whitney. But Whitney notices something important. Gerald's hands. They're trembling, not dramatically, just enough to see if you're watching closely. This is not simple compliance. This is fear. Whitney turns and walks away, back straight, steps measured, pace unhurried. The same professional walk she has practiced for 11 years. In the kitchen, she finds an empty corner, places both hands flat against the stainless steel prep counter. Breathes, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Her grandmother Loretta's voice echoes from memory. Words spoken decades ago, passed down like a warning and a weapon. "You will meet people like this, child. They want you to bow your head. You bow when you must, but don't you ever forget. Don't you ever forgive. Just wait. Your time will come." Whitney straightens up, returns to the floor, finishes her shift without incident. That night, sitting on the sofa while Amelia sleeps, she opens a small notebook with a black cover. She writes the date, the time, the exact words spoken, every witness present. Day 1, Mrs. Caroline Ashford, 12:48 p.m., publicly refused service. Exact words, "I don't want this person serving me." Witnesses, entire dining room. Manager Gerald Whitmore complied without question. She closes the notebook, places it carefully in her work bag. This is only the beginning. Day 3. Whitney files a formal complaint through the Gilded Oak's internal HR system. The process is designed to appear thorough and professional. Electronic submission portal, automatic acknowledgement email, promise of review within 5 business days. All the appearance of accountability with none of the substance. Whitney writes 200 words, describes the incident in factual, unemotional language, names every witness she can identify, notes the precise date and time, makes no accusations she cannot prove. She submits the complaint at 9:47 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. 48 hours later, she receives a response. After careful review, your complaint has been closed. Determination. Insufficient grounds for formal investigation. No further action will be taken at this time. Thank you for bringing this matter to our attention. No interview was conducted. No witnesses were contacted. No follow-up questions were asked. The complaint simply vanished into the system and emerged as a dismissal. 48 hours. That is how long it takes to make a black woman's dignity disappear. That same afternoon, Gerald Whitmore summons Whitney to his office. Small room tucked behind the kitchen. No windows. Desk buried under schedules, invoices, and vendor catalogs. Close the door, please. Whitney does, remains standing. You're a good employee, Whitney. 11 years, exemplary record. I've never once had to speak to you about performance issues. Gerald rearranges papers that do not need rearranging. Avoids direct eye contact. But I need you to understand something about Mrs. Ashford. I'm listening. The Ashford family has been extremely generous to this establishment. Last year alone, they donated $50,000 to our employee welfare fund. That money helped us provide health insurance subsidies, helped cover holiday bonuses, helped keep people employed through the slow season. Gerald finally meets her gaze. Do you understand what I'm explaining? Whitney understands with perfect clarity. Money purchases immunity. Donations buy silence. I need you to let this go, Gerald continues. Don't turn it into something bigger than it needs to be. For everyone's sake. Whitney says nothing. Her silence apparently satisfies Gerald that the matter is closed. That evening, an email arrives from Gerald's account. Whitney, as discussed today, I trust you will prioritize the restaurant's best interests moving forward. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you need any guidance. Gerald. Whitney screenshots the email, prints a physical copy, places it in her notebook. The pattern emerges over the following weeks. Clear, predictable, relentless. Day 8. Caroline Ashford returns. Gerald personally reassigns Whitney to a different section before Caroline even reaches the host stand. Day 12. Same routine. Day 15. Same routine. Each time Caroline visits, Whitney is shuffled to the far corners of the restaurant. Each time Caroline passes Whitney in the corridor, she offers a small, knowing smile. No words. Just that smile. The smile of someone who knows they have already won. Whitney's access to the VIP section, the tables with the wealthiest guests, the highest tips, evaporates completely. Her monthly income drops by 30%. But she is not alone in this pattern. In the break room, over coffee consumed in 5-minute windows, whispered stories surface. Names Whitney has never heard spoken aloud before. Derek Williams, 29 years old, black, former bartender, worked at the Gilded Oak in 2022. Caroline Ashford sat at the bar one evening, told Derek to stand farther away while she sipped her wine. Derek asked, politely, professionally, "How far would you like me to stand, ma'am?" The following week, his scheduled shifts were slashed from 5 days to 2. No explanation provided, no policy cited. He resigned after 3 months when the bills became impossible to pay. Monica Davis, 35 years old, black, former server, worked at the Gilded Oak in 2021. Caroline Ashford deliberately tilted her wine glass and spilled red wine across Monica's hand. Witnesses confirmed the motion was intentional. Then Caroline said, loudly enough for surrounding tables to hear, "Wash that off and come back. I don't want that smell on my food." Monica filed a complaint. The complaint was closed within 48 hours. Monica was transferred to the night shift. Fewer customers, lower tips, longer hours. She resigned within 6 months. The pattern is consistent across every case. No immediate terminations. That would create legal liability. Instead, a gradual suffocation. Hours reduced, sections reassigned, opportunities denied, support withdrawn. The target eventually quits on their own terms. No fingerprints visible. No lawsuit possible. No accountability required. Just a slow erasure. Day 12 brings a second direct confrontation. Whitney is working table 9, safely outside Caroline's designated territory. But Caroline walks past on her way to the restroom. Stops. Turns. looks at Whitney with that same measuring gaze. Still here? Her voice is soft, almost pleasant, conversational. I would have thought people understood their place by now. Behind the bar, Tanya Robinson's hand moves slowly toward her phone. She positions it carefully, casually. Begins recording without drawing attention. 2 minutes and 18 seconds of footage. Caroline's face clearly visible. Her words clearly audible. Timestamp embedded in the file. Whitney does not respond to the provocation. She continues serving her table. Takes the order. Refills the water glasses. Professional. Composed. Invisible. But something has fundamentally shifted inside her. After the shift ends, she finds Tanya in the parking lot. I saw you recording. Tanya hands over her phone without hesitation. Thought you might want evidence. In case. Whitney watches the video. Once, twice, 3 times. I'm not going to forget this, she says finally. I'm just going to wait. Wait for what? Whitney does not answer directly, but she adds another detailed entry to her notebook that night, and the next night, and the next. She also begins documenting something else, something about Caroline Ashford that nobody else seems to have noticed or recorded. The woman never loses control, never raises her voice beyond a certain calibrated volume, never displays visible anger or obvious frustration. Every insult is delivered with a smile. Every act of cruelty is wrapped in pleasant tones and perfect composure. In all of Charleston, no one has ever witnessed Caroline Ashford break. Whitney notes this observation carefully. It will matter later. Day 14. The dinner shift ends at 10 p.m. The parking lot empties slowly under yellow sodium lights. Tanya approaches Whitney near her car. I transferred the video to 3 separate locations. Cloud storage, external hard drive, my sister's email account. It's backed up permanently. They can't make it vanish. Whitney accepts Tanya's phone, watches the footage one more time in the quiet parking lot. Caroline's voice through the tiny speaker. Still here? I would have thought people understood their place by now. The video quality is sharp. The angle captures Caroline's face without obstruction. The audio captures every word with perfect clarity. This is evidence. Real evidence. Not Whitney's word against a millionaire's wife. Not a memory that can be questioned, twisted, or dismissed. Actual documentation of actual behavior preserved in digital form. Whitney replays it 3 times before speaking. This proves what happened on day 12. One incident. One moment in time. Isn't that enough to do something? Enough for what? Whitney shakes her head slowly. To post online and hope it goes viral? They'll claim I provoked her, that I took it out of context, that I'm seeking attention or money. One video can be explained away by an expensive PR team. Then what do you need? A pattern. Whitney's voice hardens slightly. Lisa Crawford was fired last year. Derek Williams quit in 2022. Monica Davis quit in 2021. 3 people in 3 consecutive years. Probably more if we dig deeper. All black. All targeted by the same woman. All silenced through the same methods. Tanya's eyes widen with understanding. You think they would talk? After all this time? I don't know. But if I can find them, if I can document what happened to each of them, then this video becomes part of something much larger, something that can't be dismissed or explained away. That night, Whitney lies on her sofa in the dark apartment. Amelia's breathing is steady in the bedroom. The neighborhood is quiet. She watches the video one more time on her phone, pauses on Caroline's face. That serene expression, that confident smile, the face of someone who has never faced consequences. For the first time since this ordeal began, Whitney allows herself to feel something beyond humiliation and anger. Not happiness. This situation is far too painful for happiness. But validation. Confirmation. She is not imagining things. She is not being oversensitive. She is not misremembering or exaggerating. The cruelty is real, intentional, and now documented. She thinks about Lisa Crawford, 24 years old when she was terminated for stating a simple fact, that a table was already reserved. Where is she now? Still in Charleston? Working somewhere else? Still carrying the weight of what happened to her? She thinks about Derek Williams, Monica Davis, names whispered in break rooms, people who were erased so quietly that most current employees don't even know they existed. Would they speak if someone asked the right questions? Would they be willing to revisit pain they have spent years trying to bury? Whitney's notebook sits on the coffee table. She opens it, reads through her careful entries by the light of her phone screen. Dates, times, witnesses, exact words. A record building page by page. Evidence is a weapon, but weapons require skill and timing to use effectively. Strike too early, and you miss. Strike too late, and the moment passes forever. Whitney decides to wait, continue documenting, continue watching. Build the case piece by careful piece until it becomes undeniable. 4 days later, an email arrives from an unfamiliar address. Subject line: I heard about what's happening at the Gilded Oak. We should talk. The sender: Denise Holloway. Whitney recognizes the name immediately. Former investigative reporter for the Post and Courier, Charleston's major daily newspaper. Denise was forced out 3 years ago after publishing an expose about corruption in the city's land development approval process. Too many powerful people named. Too many uncomfortable questions raised. Now she runs an independent blog called Charleston Unfiltered. Smaller audience but no editorial board to censor her work. No advertisers to pressure her into silence. The email continues. I don't make promises I can't keep, but I know how to find patterns that people want to stay hidden, and I know how to make those patterns impossible to ignore. If you're willing to talk, I'm willing to listen. Whitney reads the message 3 times, then begins composing a reply. The coffee shop occupies a strip mall on the outskirts of North Charleston, 15 miles from the historic district, far from anyone who might recognize either of them. The kind of anonymous place where conversations can happen without witnesses. Whitney arrives 15 minutes early, orders black coffee, takes a table in the back corner with clear sight lines to every entrance and exit. Denise Holloway walks in at exactly 7 a.m. 45 years old. Short hair streaked with gray she makes no effort to conceal. No makeup, no jewelry. Worn leather messenger bag slung over one shoulder. Eyes that scan the room systematically before settling on Whitney. She sits down without pleasantries or small talk. Tell me everything. Start from the very beginning. Whitney slides her notebook across the table. Denise opens it, begins reading. Her expression remains completely neutral, but her eyes move with careful attention over every word, every date, every detail. 3 full minutes pass in absolute silence. You document like a trained journalist, Denise finally says. Specific timestamps, direct quotations, named witnesses, corroborating details. This is thorough work. Is it enough? For proving what happened to one person? No. Courts and public opinion both require more than that. Denise closes the notebook but keeps her hand on it. But you're not the only one this has happened to, are you? No. I've been hearing names. Lisa Crawford, Derek Williams, Monica Davis, others I probably don't know about yet. I've been hearing whispers about the Gilded Oak for years. Denise leans forward slightly. Individual complaints that went nowhere. People who quit suddenly and refused to explain why. A pattern that nobody wanted to examine too closely because examining it would mean confronting uncomfortable truths about how this city actually works. Because of the Ashfords. Because of what the Ashfords represent: money, political connections, the ability to make problems disappear, the power to end careers with a phone call. Denise's voice carries no emotion, just statement of fact. But patterns are difficult to hide once someone commits to looking. And I've decided to look. Over the next 2 weeks, Denise conducts systematic interviews. She tracks down former employees of the Gilded Oak through social media, employment records, and personal networks. Cross-references termination dates and resignation letters with Caroline Ashford's reservation history. Follows threads that lead to other threads that lead to documentation nobody expected to survive. 7 people ultimately agree to speak on the record. 7 former employees, all black. Lisa Crawford, 24 years old, terminated in 2023. I told her the table was reserved for another party. That was the complete interaction. I wasn't rude, I wasn't disrespectful, I was stating a fact. Lisa's voice carries residual anger even through the phone. 1 week later, HR called me in. They said my attitude wasn't suitable for the establishment. When I asked for specifics, they had none, because there weren't any. They just needed me gone. And they made it happen. Derek Williams, 29 years old, quit in 2022. She told me to stand farther away from her while she sat at the bar, like my presence was contaminating her space, like being near a black man would ruin her evening. I asked how far, just trying to do my job professionally, and suddenly my hours got slashed in half. No explanation, no appeal process. I couldn't survive on 2 shifts a week. Monica Davis, 35 years old, quit in 2021. She poured wine on my hand deliberately. I watched her tilt the glass. There was nothing accidental about it. Then she told me to wash off that smell before I touched her food again. I filed a formal complaint. The complaint disappeared into the system and never came out. They transferred me to overnight shifts where I made half the tips and never saw my kids awake. I lasted 6 months before I broke. Sandra Moore, 38 years old, quit in 2020. She called me "you people" in front of her friends, like I wasn't an individual human being, like I was a representative of something she found distasteful. Her friends laughed. James Turner, 42 years old, quit in 2019, the only man among the 7. I was a line cook, head of the evening prep station. She walked into the kitchen, guests are absolutely not supposed to be back there, and announced that my cooking smelled strange. Gerald made me apologize to her, made me apologize for doing my job. Patricia Cole, 31 years old, quit in 2018. She asked me if I could read when I handed her the menu, asked if I understood what the words meant, asked if I needed help with the big words. Her friends thought it was hilarious. Angela Foster, 28 years old, quit in 2016. She told me I was lucky to work in a place as nice as the Gilded Oak, lucky they allowed someone like me through the front door, like I should be grateful for the opportunity to serve her. 7 victims, 8 years, all black, all targeted by the same woman, all processed through the same system designed to make them disappear quietly. This is not coincidence. This is pattern. This is policy. But Denise uncovers more than personal testimonies. Her source is a former IT contractor, someone who departed the Gilded Oak with unresolved grievances, and more importantly, with backup files. Among the recovered documents, an email chain from March 2023. From Gerald Whitmore to Harrison Ashford. Subject: thank you for your generous contribution. On behalf of our entire staff, I want to express sincere gratitude for the Ashford family's donation of $15,000 to the Employee Welfare Fund. Your continued generosity makes everything we do possible. The timestamp on the email: 3 days after Monica Davis's formal complaint was administratively closed without investigation. Denise presents the email to Whitney at their 3rd meeting. This isn't just silence being purchased. This is a direct payment to make a complaint disappear. $15,000 to close a file and move on. There is more. The Charleston Commerce Association, the business organization that represents the city's most powerful commercial interests, holds quarterly meetings. Most are open to members and documented in public minutes. Some are not. Through a contact within the organization's administrative staff, Denise obtains minutes from a closed-door executive session held January 2024. Agenda Item 7. Informal complaints regarding Mrs. Caroline Ashford. Decision recorded. After discussion, the executive committee has determined that no formal action will be taken regarding this matter. The association values its productive relationship with Ashford Realty Group and sees no institutional benefit in pursuing individual complaints that have not risen to the level of legal action. Whitney reads the minutes twice, 3 times. They knew. The entire business establishment of Charleston knew about her behavior. They documented it in their own meeting minutes, and they chose to do nothing because doing something would cost them money. The Ashfords donate approximately $200,000 annually to various Charleston institutions, Denise confirms. That kind of money purchases a tremendous amount of institutional blindness. Whitney stares at the documents spread across Denise's kitchen table. 7 detailed testimonies. Email evidence documenting payments. Official meeting minutes proving institutional awareness and deliberate inaction. 8 years of evidence. 7 victims. A system architecturally designed to protect one wealthy woman's cruelty. Is this enough? Whitney asks. We're getting close, but for this to truly be undeniable, we need something more. Something in her own voice. Denise pauses, considering. Right now, we have witnesses describing what she said. Witnesses can be challenged. Memories can be questioned. But if we had her actual voice saying these things, recorded, documented, irrefutable, Denise trails off, taps her fingers on the table. The Commerce Association holds closed meetings several times a year. Someone takes official notes. Someone might also be making unofficial recordings. I'm going to find out who. If you think this is the whole story, wait. Whitney hasn't even reached the hardest part of this journey yet. The following morning, Whitney's phone buzzes with a breaking news alert. Caroline Ashford has filed a defamation lawsuit against Denise Holloway. Damages sought, $500,000. The counterattack has begun. The lawsuit lands like a declaration of war. Caroline Ashford's legal team, 3 attorneys from Charleston's most prestigious firm, files in Charleston County Court. $500,000 in claimed damages for defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and tortious interference with business relationships. The filing demands that Denise immediately remove 3 blog posts pending the outcome of litigation. The message is unmistakable. Challenge Caroline Ashford publicly, and she will bury you in legal fees until you break or go bankrupt. Denise refuses to flinch. She retains a defense attorney, pays from her personal savings, depleting her emergency fund, and prepares for a prolonged fight. They want me to go silent, she explains to Whitney over the phone. That's how this machinery works. Bury critics under legal costs. Make the price of speaking truth higher than ordinary people can afford. Eventually, people stop speaking. But the lawsuit is only the opening salvo. Day 41. Whitney receives an email from the Gilded Oaks HR department. Subject: Notice of Employment Termination. The letter is 3 paragraphs of carefully worded professional language designed to mask deliberate cruelty behind corporate formality. After careful review, management has determined that your continued employment is no longer aligned with the operational needs of our establishment. Concerns have been raised regarding potential violations of internal confidentiality policies. Your employment is terminated effective immediately. Please return your uniform and employee materials to HR by end of business today. No specific violation identified. No prior warning documented. No opportunity to contest or appeal. 11 years. 0 complaints. 23 positive reviews mentioning her by name. Gone in 3 paragraphs. Whitney reads the email standing in the employee break room. Reads it again. A third time. The words blur slightly. She walks to the HR office. Signs the termination paperwork without argument. Returns her uniform. Does not cry. Does not raise her voice. Does not give them the satisfaction of witnessing her break. In the parking lot, she sits in her car for 45 minutes, engine off. Engine, staring at nothing. The calculations cascade immediately, brutally. No job means no income. More critically, no job means no health insurance. Amelia's asthma medication costs $1,200 per month without insurance coverage. Whitney has $412 remaining in her checking account. The math does not work. The math cannot be made to work. She has perhaps 6 weeks before everything collapses. The public response to the developing story splits along predictable fault lines. Supporters rally on social media. This is textbook racial discrimination. Caroline Ashford thinks she owns Charleston. Whitney should sue them all into the ground. Critics attack with equal fervor. She's just looking for attention. Should have known her place. Probably deserved everything she got. Comment sections become war zones. Denise's blog traffic spikes dramatically, but so do the threatening messages in her inbox. Right of response, neutral tone. Caroline Ashford's attorney releases a prepared statement to local media. Our client categorically denies all allegations of misconduct. The legal actions being pursued are solely to defend her legitimate reputation against baseless and defamatory accusations. Mrs. Ashford has dedicated decades to charitable service in the Charleston community and finds these allegations deeply hurtful and completely unfounded. She looks forward to complete vindication through proper legal channels. The pressure extends outward to everyone connected to Whitney's case. 3 current employees of the Gilded Oak, people who had privately agreed to provide witness statements supporting Whitney's account, withdraw their names within the same week. They cannot risk their jobs. They have families depending on their income. They have bills that must be paid. They have fear that is entirely rational. Denise loses 3 confirmed sources in 7 days. The system functions exactly as designed. Pressure applied, support networks eroded, target isolated. Raymond Grant enters the picture unexpectedly. 41 years old. Labor rights attorney at Legal Aid South Carolina, a nonprofit that provides free legal services to workers who cannot afford representation. He reads about the developing situation in the Post and Courier's limited coverage and reaches out to Denise directly. I want to help. Pro bono. No fees. Denise is appropriately cautious. Why get involved? Because I've witnessed this pattern repeatedly throughout my career. Wealthy individuals weaponizing legal systems to silence legitimate grievances. Workers getting crushed because they lack resources to fight back. Raymond pauses. And because occasionally the law should actually function for the people it claims to protect. He reviews every document, the testimonies, the emails, the meeting minutes, the video, spends 2 complete days analyzing the accumulated material. Then he calls Whitney directly. They're executing a clock-out strategy. They assume you'll exhaust your financial resources before they exhaust their legal budget. They're usually right about that calculation. Whitney says nothing. He is not wrong. But here's what they're miscalculating. You have 7 witnesses willing to describe a pattern spanning 8 years. You have documentary evidence of payments designed to silence complaints. You have proof of institutional cover-up at the highest levels. And you have something their money cannot purchase. What's that? The truth, and a city full of people who are exhausted from being told to stay quiet. That night, Whitney sits in her parked car outside her apartment building. She doesn't go inside immediately, just sits in the dark. Her phone buzzes. Unknown number. Hello? A woman's voice. Tired but determined. This is Sandra Moore. Denise gave me your number. I heard what they did to you today. Whitney listens in silence. I know exactly what you're thinking right now. I thought the identical thing 4 years ago. They offered me $5,000 to sign a non-disclosure agreement and disappear quietly. I took the money. Silence on the line. I haven't slept properly since. Not one night in 4 years. Because I let them purchase my voice. Sandra's words settle heavily. You're the only one who hasn't folded. If you surrender now, all of us go back to being silent. Again. Forever. The call ends. Whitney stares at her phone. Caroline's attorney had reached out that morning with a settlement offer. $10,000. Sign a non-disclosure agreement. Walk away permanently. $10,000 would cover Amelia's medication for 8 months. Whitney's thumb hovers over the callback button. She does not press it. Day 45. Whitney sits in her car outside Medical University of South Carolina's Children's Hospital. Amelia has a routine checkup scheduled. The out-of-pocket cost without insurance, $340. Whitney has $412 remaining. She stares at the hospital entrance. Families move in and out. Children in wheelchairs pushed by tired parents. Doctors in white coats walking with purpose. She pulls out her phone, opens the photo gallery, finds her favorite picture of Amelia. Gap-toothed smile, eyes bright, wearing the purple dress she picked out herself last year. The math keeps running through her mind. Rent due in 2 weeks. Electric bill came yesterday. Groceries, gas, the medication refill next month. $10,000 would solve everything, at least for a while. Her grandmother Loretta kept silent her entire life, worked in white families' kitchens for 40 years, took their insults, swallowed their condescension, never fought back. She survived. Her mother Diane did the same. 30 years of yes ma'am and no ma'am and letting cruelty slide off like water. Never made waves, never raised her voice. She survived, too. Maybe that's what 3 generations of black women have learned. You don't win against people like Caroline Ashford. You just endure until they get bored and move on to the next target. Maybe survival is victory enough. Whitney opens her contacts, finds the number for Caroline Ashford's attorney. Her thumb moves toward the call button. The phone rings before she can press it. Sandra Moore again. I know I called last night. I couldn't stop thinking about our conversation. There's something else I need to say. Whitney waits. When I took their money, I told myself it was practical, smart. I had bills. I had a kid about to start college. $5,000 was real money. A heavy pause. But every single time I see a young black woman in a restaurant uniform, serving food with a smile even when customers treat her like garbage, I think about what I should have done, what I could have said. Sandra's voice tightens. You're the only one standing up, and I know it's not fair to put all this on you. But the truth is, if you quit now, we all quit. Again. Permanently. The call ends. Whitney sits in silence, looks at the hospital entrance again. Sometimes the decision to keep fighting isn't about strength. Sometimes it's about who else falls if you don't. She puts her phone away, gets out of the car, walks into the hospital. At the registration desk, she gives Amelia's name. The receptionist pulls up the account. That'll be $340. How would you like to pay? Whitney hands over her credit card, the one she's been trying not to use, the one with the interest rate that will bury her if she's not careful. The payment processes, the receipt prints. She takes a seat in the waiting room. Amelia gets called back for examination. Sometimes you keep going not because you believe you'll win, but because you can't look at yourself in the mirror if you quit. 3 days later, Raymond Grant calls. I have news. 23 current and former Gilded Oak employees are willing to sign a collective petition demanding investigation of the restaurant's HR practices. Whitney closes her eyes. And there's more. The online petition Denise launched hit 15,000 signatures this morning. 3 city council members are publicly calling for a formal hearing. This is the moment most people would have surrendered. But Whitney isn't most people. Raymond Grant's office at Legal Aid, South Carolina is small and cluttered. No marble floors or leather furniture. Just filing cabinets, stacked case files, and a desk that's seen better decades. But this is where workers without resources come when they need someone to fight for them. The petition takes shape in 72 hours, 23 names, current employees, former employees, people who have never spoken publicly about their experiences at the Gilded Oak. 5 of the 7 original victims sign: Lisa Crawford, Derek Williams, Monica Davis, Sandra Moore, James Turner. 2 decline. Patricia Cole and Angela Foster remain too afraid. Raymond doesn't push them. Fear is a rational response to demonstrated threat. The petition is notarized, submitted formally to the Charleston City Council. Demand: an official investigation into discriminatory employment practices at the Gilded Oak restaurant and the Charleston Commerce Association's failure to address documented complaints. Denise publishes the full story on Charleston Unfiltered, documents everything, names, links to the petition. 72 hours later, the online version hits 15,000 signatures. The hashtag #JusticeForWhitney begins trending across South Carolina, then regionally, then nationally. The Post and Courier runs a feature story. WCSC-TV requests an on-camera interview. Whitney declines the television opportunity. I don't want to be famous. I want justice. Pressure mounts on the city council. 3 members issue public statements demanding a hearing. The council chair initially resists, then reverses position when signatures pass 20,000. A hearing date is set, 75 days after Whitney filed her original internal complaint. Something unexpected happens in the interim. Caroline Ashford's attorneys withdraw the defamation lawsuit against Denise Holloway. No explanation provided, no public statement made. Denise reposts her 3 deleted articles within the hour. Whitney receives messages daily now, emails, letters, social media comments from strangers across the country. One stands out, handwritten on notebook paper, from a 19-year-old girl who works at a restaurant in Columbia. I'm going through the same thing right now. Different city, different rich woman, same treatment. Thank you for not staying quiet. You made me feel like maybe I don't have to be quiet either. Whitney reads the letter twice, folds it carefully, adds it to her notebook. 15,000 people she has never met signed their names for her. Most will never know her personally, but they know what it feels like to be dismissed, diminished, told their place, and they chose not to be silent. Denise calls with additional news. I found something. A recording from a closed Commerce Association meeting last November. Whitney's pulse quickens. What's on it? Caroline Ashford's voice, clear as anything. And what she says... Denise pauses. You need to hear this yourself. Eleanor Reed is 62 years old. She spent 31 years as administrative assistant for the Charleston Commerce Association. Took notes at every meeting, kept meticulous records, maintained files that board members forgot existed. She also made audio recordings, every meeting, without fail. Protection, she explains to Denise over the phone. I learned early that powerful people will deny anything inconvenient, so I documented everything, backed it up for 8 years. She provides a file, audio format, 51 minutes and 38 seconds, dated November 2023. 8 Commerce Association board members in attendance, plus 1 guest, Caroline Ashford. Whitney and Denise listen together in Denise's home office. Raymond Grant joins via speakerphone. The first 30 minutes cover routine matters, budget allocations, upcoming events, member dues. Then, Agenda Item 7. A male voice, one of the board members, raises a concern. We've received multiple informal complaints about Mrs. Ashford's behavior at various establishments. Nothing official yet, but the pattern is becoming difficult to ignore. A pause. Shuffling papers. Then Caroline's voice. Clear, calm, unmistakable. I don't care what that woman complained about. She's a waitress. She's black. She should know her place. And if she doesn't understand that, I'll teach her. I'll teach all of them. Another board member speaks tentatively. Caroline, don't you think that's a bit much? Caroline's response comes without hesitation. Much? My family donates $200,000 to this city every year. I'm allowed to be much. The recording continues. The board moves to the next agenda item. No further discussion. No objection recorded. Whitney listens 3 times, pauses at the 34-minute mark each time, replays those specific words. She should know her place. I'll teach her. I'll teach all of them. She sits in silence for 2 full minutes after the 3rd listen. Then she speaks. Her voice is calm, almost detached. She said I don't know my place, but she said it in a private meeting, behind closed doors, with people she trusted to keep her secret. Whitney looks at Denise. She was afraid to say those words in public, and now the whole public is going to hear them. Raymond Grant takes the recording to a notary public. The file is authenticated, time-stamped, certified as unaltered. This is no longer hearsay. This is Caroline Ashford's own voice, her own words, recorded without her knowledge but legally obtained from someone present at the meeting. Intent stated explicitly. Target identified by race. Pattern acknowledged. No attorney can spin this. No public relations firm can soften it. No amount of money can make it disappear. The recording is filed as supplementary evidence with the City Council. Day 75 approaches. Hearing scheduled for 2:00 p.m. City Council, Chamber Number 4, Charleston City Hall. Whitney will sit in the front row. Caroline Ashford will sit across the aisle. For the first time since this began, they will occupy the same space, breathe the same air, face the same audience. 200 people will witness what happens, and one of them, the one who should know her place, will stand up and speak. City Council Chamber Number 4, 200 seats, everyone occupied. Television cameras line the back wall. Reporters clutch notebooks. The public gallery buzzes with whispered conversations. 5 council members sit at the elevated dais. Their faces are carefully neutral. Caroline Ashford enters at 1:55 p.m. Navy silk dress, triple strand of pearls, back perfectly straight, chin raised at the precise angle of someone who has never been forced to bow. This is the Caroline Ashford that Charleston knows. Composed, controlled, untouchable. She takes her seat in the front row, does not glance toward Whitney, does not acknowledge her existence. Whitney testifies first. 12 minutes. Calm, detailed. No wasted emotion. She describes day 1, the table changes, the public humiliation, Gerald Whitmore's compliance. She describes Lisa Crawford, Derek Williams, Monica Davis, Sandra Moore, James Turner, Patricia Cole, Angela Foster. 8 years. 7 victims. A pattern that cannot be explained as coincidence. 6 victims testify in turn, 5 minutes each. Their voices sometimes shake, but their words are clear. Then the recording. The council chair speaks into the silence. We will now play an audio excerpt beginning at minute 34. The chamber holds its breath. Caroline Ashford's voice fills the room. She's a waitress. She's black. She should know her place. And if she doesn't understand that, I'll teach her. I'll teach all of them. 200 people hear the words. The silence that follows is absolute. Caroline sits motionless, but not entirely still. Her hands begin to tremble. The diamond ring catches light as her fingers shake against her dress. Her eyes, carefully made up, begin to redden. No tears fall, but the whites turn pink. The council chair speaks. "Mrs. Ashford, would you like to respond?" Caroline opens her mouth, closes it. No sound emerges. Then Whitney stands. No one requests this. No one grants permission. She simply rises from her seat, back straight, eyes forward, looking directly at Caroline Ashford. The chamber goes silent beyond silence. Whitney does not shout, does not accuse. She speaks as if addressing herself, voice level, clear. "You said I don't know my place. Let me tell you where I belong. I am my mother's daughter, my grandmother's granddaughter. 3 generations of black women have bowed their heads in rooms exactly like this one." She pauses, holds Caroline's gaze. "But today, I am standing here, and you are sitting there." Whitney sits down. Caroline stares at her. For the first time during the entire hearing, their eyes meet directly. This is the moment Caroline Ashford breaks, not because of the recording, not because of 200 witnesses, but because of Whitney's eyes, calm, steady, carrying no hatred, no triumph, only truth. Caroline's hand releases the pearls she has been gripping. Her shoulders collapse inward. Her lips move without producing sound. Her head bows. For the first time in her life, before 200 witnesses and live television cameras, Caroline Ashford crumbles completely. No weeping, no excuses, just silent, total devastation. Right of response. Neutral tone. The council chair offers Caroline another opportunity to speak. Her attorney rises instead, reads a brief prepared statement. "Our client has no comment at this time." The council announces its decisions. Gerald Whitmore is suspended pending investigation of the $15,000 payment. The Commerce Association is ordered to reform its complaint procedures. Caroline Ashford faces no criminal charges. The council lacks that authority. But her public image, the thing she protected above all else, lies shattered on the floor of Chamber 4. A reporter intercepts Whitney outside the chamber. "Will you return to the Gilded Oak?" Whitney considers the question. "No, I won't go back to a place that didn't value me. But I hope the next person, the next black woman who walks through those doors, will be treated like a human being." The aftermath unfolds over the following months. Whitney finds new employment, better pay, better benefits. Amelia's medication is covered. She establishes a nonprofit organization, Dignity at Work, mission, supporting workers of color facing discrimination in the service industry. Denise Holloway continues writing. Raymond Grant takes 3 similar cases from other Charleston restaurants. Gerald Whitmore is terminated after investigation confirms the payment arrangement with the Ashford family. He does not find equivalent employment. Caroline Ashford faces no criminal prosecution, but her social exile is complete. 3 charity boards remove her from their rosters. Ashford Realty Group loses 2 major city contracts. She makes no public appearances after the hearing. The notebook Whitney started on day 1 sits on her bookshelf now, filled with dates and testimony and evidence. A record of what patience can build when surrender isn't an option. She wore pearls. Whitney wore patience. Pearls can crack. Patience cannot. And in that council chamber, when Whitney rose and spoke those words, all of Charleston finally saw which one was truly unbreakable. Dignity has no price tag, and no one, regardless of wealth, has the right to purchase your silence. If this story resonated with you, share it. Not for punishment, but to remind each other that ordinary people, without money or power, can still rise and make the mightiest bow their heads. Like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, Have you ever witnessed someone break down in complete silence?